Hey everyone, welcome back. This week brought two pieces of news that affect almost every single person who's currently receiving Social Security or who's planning to claim it in the next few years. And I want to walk you through both of these today because chances are you haven't heard either of them explained clearly. Not on the evening news, not from your bank, not from the Social Security Administration's own mailers. So today, I'm going to break both of these down in plain, simple language, explain exactly what they mean for your specific situation, and tell you what, if anything, you actually need to do about each one. Before we get into it, if you find this kind of breakdown useful, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. This is exactly the kind of thing I track every single week, so that you don't have to dig through government reports and financial jargon yourself. All right, let's get into Part 1, the Trust Fund Timeline. Let's start with the bigger, scarier-sounding headline first, because I want to make sure you understand it correctly, not the way it usually gets reported. Every year, the Social Security trustees release an official report on the financial health of the program. This report includes a projected date for when the trust fund's reserves could be depleted if no changes are made to the law. In recent years, that projected date has been creeping closer and closer, and this year's report is no exception. The depletion date moved forward again compared to last year's estimate. Now here's the part that almost every news segment gets wrong, either because they're rushing through it or because trust fund runs out makes for a scarier headline than the full explanation. When people hear the trust fund is running out, they imagine Social Security simply stops sending checks. That is not what happens, and it's important you understand the difference. Social Security is funded primarily through payroll taxes, the taxes taken out of every working American's paycheck right now, today, and every day going forward. Those payroll taxes don't stop just because a trust fund reserve hits zero. As long as people are working and paying into the system, money keeps flowing in. What the depletion date actually means is this. Once the trust fund reserves are used up, the payroll taxes coming in each year would only be enough to cover a percentage of what's owed to beneficiaries, not the full amount. If Congress does nothing between now and then, the law as currently written would require an automatic across-the-board reduction in benefits for every single recipient, regardless of your age, your health, or how long you've been collecting. Let's put that in real numbers, because abstract percentages don't mean much until you see them applied to an actual check. If the projected reduction were, say, in the range of 20 to 25%, that's not a small adjustment. On an average monthly benefit, that could mean several $100s less every single month. For someone on a smaller benefit, it might be a couple $100s less. For someone on a larger benefit, it could be $500 or $600 less every month, indefinitely. And I want to be very clear about something. This isn't a hypothetical projection about future generations or someone else down the road. This is a projection about people who are receiving benefits right now, today, if the current law stays exactly as written and Congress takes no action before the deadline. So what do you actually need to do with this information right now? Here's the honest answer. Nothing changes today, tomorrow, or next year. The current benefit structure is fully funded under existing law for years to come. This is not an emergency that requires you to call anyone or change anything about your current benefits immediately. What this information is, though, is context. Over the next several years, you are going to hear politicians from every side talking about saving Social Security, reforming Social Security, protecting Social Security. And a lot of that talk is going to be vague, political. If you haven't claimed Social Security yet, this adds one more variable to your claiming decision. Claiming earlier locks in your benefit at a certain level sooner, before any potential future changes take effect. Waiting until age 70 gives you a permanently higher monthly payment, but it also means a larger share of your retirement income is riding on the assumption that Congress acts before that depletion date arrives. Neither choice is automatically correct for everyone. It depends on your health, your other sources of income, your spouse's situation, and frankly, your own gut feeling about whether lawmakers will step in. But you deserve to make that decision with the full picture, not a half-explained headline. Part 2. The Cost of Living Adjustment. Now let's move to the second piece of news, and this one is the kind that sounds purely positive, but has an important catch hiding inside it. Each year, the Social Security Administration announces the next year's Cost of Living Adjustment, or COLA, in October. That adjustment is calculated based on inflation data from a specific government index, measured during a specific window, July, August, and September of the current year. So the official number for next year's COLA won't be locked in until that data is finalized in the fall. However, independent analysts who track Social Security and Medicare policy don't wait until October to start watching the trends. They follow the monthly inflation data as it's released throughout the year and publish early estimates so that retirees can get a sense of which direction things are heading well before the official announcement. Recently, those early estimates have been trending. On the surface, that sounds like fantastic news. A bigger COLA means a bigger check. More money showing up in your account every month. Who wouldn't want that? But here's the nuance. And this is the part I really want you to sit with for a second, because it's the part that gets lost in the celebration. A larger COLA exists because inflation is running higher. The COLA is the system's attempt to help your benefit keep pace with rising costs. So a bigger COLA isn't really extra money in any meaningful sense. It's an attempt to catch up to costs that have already gone up. And historically, that catch-up has often been incomplete. The dollar amount your check increases by tends to be smaller than the actual increase in what things cost you that same year. So even with a larger COLA, many retirees find that their purchasing power, what their check can actually buy, continues to shrink, just maybe a little less dramatically than it would have without. This matters more than ever right now, because a growing share of retirees rely on Social Security for the overwhelming majority, sometimes the entirety, of their monthly income. When that's the case, the gap between how much your check went up and how much your costs went up isn't just an abstract economic statistic. It's the difference between covering your bills comfortably and coming up short by the end of the month. So what's the practical takeaway here? The early signs point toward a notably larger COLA for next year, which is good news in dollar terms. But don't go making major financial decisions based on these early estimates. The official number isn't set until October, and several more months of inflation data still need to come in before that calculation is finalized. If the current trend holds, expect a meaningful increase. If energy and food prices ease up over the coming months, the final number could come in lower than today's early projections. For now, the smartest thing you can do is simply keep this trend in mind as you plan your budget. Know that the direction is upward, watch for the official October announcement, and don't assume the increase alone will fully offset whatever your own costs have done this year. So here's the summary for this week. The trust fund depletion date moved closer again in the latest report, and if Congress takes no action before that date, current law would require an automatic benefit cut for every recipient. But nothing changes for you today. This is information for the years ahead, not an emergency for right now. At the same time, early estimates for next year's COLA are trending notably higher than last year's increase, which is good news in dollar terms, but reflects rising costs that may continue to outpace what any adjustment can fully cover, and the real number won't be official until October. If this helped you understand what's actually going on, hit subscribe and share it with someone you know who depends on Social Security, because chances are they haven't heard this explained clearly.